Just 48 years after the Prophet Muhammad passed away, his grandson Hussein was killed in the Battle of Karbala. This event arose due to a power struggle following the assassination of the fourth caliph, Ali, in 661. With Ali's death, a leadership vacuum emerged, and Muawiyah assumed the role of caliph. However, part of the Muslim community opposed him, favoring Hassan, Ali's son and the Prophet's grandson. To avoid further conflict, Hassan signed a peace treaty with Muawiyah, which included an agreement that Muawiyah would not appoint a successor. In 670, Hassan was assassinated, leaving his brother Hussein to continue their family's legacy. The treaty was broken when Muawiyah named his son Yazid as his successor in 680, thus establishing the Umayyad dynasty. Yazid expanded his control using corruption, bribery, and violence. When Yazid demanded allegiance from Hussein, he refused, as Yazid's actions contradicted Islamic principles. Hussein fled Medina to escape threats of imprisonment or assassination. Meanwhile, he received thousands of letters from supporters in Kufa, Iraq, urging him to lead a rebellion against Yazid. Hussein, committed to seeking reform in the Muslim community, stated his intent to promote good and oppose evil. To avoid violence in Mecca, Hussein left the city during Hajj and set out for Kufa with his family and companions. However, Yazid's forces, led by a general named Hur, intercepted his caravan. Another army, led by Umar ibn Sa'id, joined Hur, and they surrounded Hussein's camp in Karbala, located in modern-day Iraq. Yazid's forces cut off access to water, leaving Hussein, his family, and his companions to endure days of extreme thirst in the scorching desert heat. Hussein was repeatedly pressured to pledge allegiance to Yazid, but he stood firm in his refusal. On the night before the battle, he gathered his companions and told them they could leave to save themselves. Nevertheless, they pledged to stay and fight alongside him, despite knowing they faced certain defeat. On the 10th of Muharram, known as the Day of Ashura, Hussein addressed the opposing forces, reminding them of his status as the Prophet's grandson and urging them to reconsider their actions. His words moved Hur, who defected from Yazid's side to join Hussein. The battle began with Hussein's small group of around 70 fighters facing an army that some historians estimate numbered 300. One by one, Hussein's companions went into battle, fighting bravely before being murdered. Eventually, Hussein was left with only his family members, who also fought and were killed. Hussein, deeply grieving, pleaded for water for his 6-month-old son, but the enemy responded by killing the infant with an arrow. After burying his child, Hussein bid farewell to the women and children in his camp. He charged into battle alone, fighting valiantly, but was eventually overpowered, surrounded, and killed. His body was brutally mutilated, and his head was severed. The enemy forces looted the battlefield, plundering the possessions of the martyrs and setting fire to the tents of Hussein's family. The surviving women and children, including the Prophet's granddaughters, were taken captive and paraded through the streets to Yazid's court in Damascus. The tragedy of Karbala deeply shocked the Muslim community. As news of the event spread, it ignited uprisings across the Islamic world. Many historians argue that the Battle of Karbala profoundly altered the course of Islamic history. The day of Ashura is now commemorated by millions of Muslims worldwide, both Sunni and Shia, as a day of mourning and remembrance of Hussein's unwavering stand for justice and faith.